One of the people I interviewed, Christopher Cross, you sang on his record, on Ride Like the Wind. He told the story, you were in the same studio when they were working on that. And I mean, do you remember any of this?
Oh yeah, I remember it quite vividly, yeah. Michael was, in fact, I didn't even know Michael was producing records yet. I knew Mike as a keyboard player.
Yeah.
You know? We had played on some sessions together, and he was always really very encouraging, because I always, and rightfully so, felt like, I don't know what I'm doing here, you know. Just forgive me if I play anything stupid, you know.
That sounds like something he would say.
Yeah, no, you know, but, and he was always very, you know, encouraging. You know, like, I'd look over him like, you know, and but here he is producing records, and he was, I think, already signed on as a staff producer with Warner's, and he brought Christopher to Warner Brothers, and he said, "Hey, man, can you come over when you get done? Can you just drop by Studio B? I'm recording this new kid, and it's there's some stuff. Just a couple lines that take us an hour, you know." And literally, that's about all it took, or less, you know. But I went down and I heard this stuff, and I liked it. You know, really, it was catchy. It was really, you know, it caught my ear for sure. You know, I met Christopher, and you know, he was just, you know, this humble kid from Texas, you know, who was in the big city and came out to California to make a record, you know. And the stuff, all the tracks were really great, you know. They played Sailin' for me, and I was like, wow, it's really, really great stuff. And so Michael asked me to sing these backgrounds and on Ride Like the Wind, and that was the only thing we did that day. And it was, you know, it was over pretty quickly, and, you know, until I, you know, heard the record on the radio, you know, I was kind of amazed.
I'd like to take a second to talk to you about this channel. This is actually Rick Beato 2. I've had it since the beginning of my main channel, and many of you are not subscribed. As a matter of fact, 87% of the people that watch this channel regularly are not subscribed. So I encourage you to hit the subscribe button on this channel and on my main channel. This will help me get even more of my dream guests and help continue to grow both channels. Thank you. You probably spent, what, 30 minutes doing all that?
Maybe.
If that?
Yeah, yeah.
Did Michael say, okay, this is what I want you to sing. Oh, okay, I'm just going to sing the answer part. I think Christopher told me that he had already sung it and you just replaced his part.
I think so, yeah, yeah. Yeah, no, and the song was indeed very catchy, you know, and I kind of already knew that it would probably be a hit, you know, but of course I had no idea what the future of the record really was, because I didn't even know Michael was producing records yet, you know. It was all a surprise to me, you know.
You've seen the skit of who is it, Rick Moranis?
The first time I saw that on television, I had just left Pat Simmons' room. We were on the road back then, and we went back to the studio, and he goes, "Man, I got this pot you're not going to believe." He goes, we only take a couple hits, and it's like this stuff lambasted you, you know. And so we're in his room and smoking a blunt. I took a couple hits, and I literally had to go. You know, I mean, I had to go back to my room and lay down. You know, I remember I said to him, "Yeah, I got to go." I said, "No, this is," and I made it to my room. I somehow got the key in the door, and I walked in, and I always left my TV on when I leave the room for the gig. So this thing is in progress on television. You know, this guy looks really familiar, and in this skit that's playing out, and I remember thinking, that guy really looks familiar, and you know, and it was Rick Moranis dressed as me, doing this, going into the studios, and they're playing Christopher's song, and I'm like, and I thought, I'm losing it, you know, that's what's happening. I'm having hallucinations, you know. That stuff was stronger than I think, you know. And then as it played out, I realized this is SCTV and it's a skit. And thank God for that, you know. It was hilarious, you know. I think they had some carpet commercial that the Doobie Brothers were the soundtrack to, and so I think Rick Moranis actually apologized to me years later when we were out with the Rock and Soul Review. He came to one of the gigs at Jones Beach, and he goes, "I just want to apologize for that." I said, "No, man." I said, "I've gotten more mileage out of that."
Oh my God, yeah. That's one of the best skits ever.
It was so hilarious. You know?
Now, you were so in demand to sing background vocals, yet your voice is so unique and it stands out so much, like in Peg, for example, on Steely Dan.
Donald knew what he wanted me to sing. And when we first started to lay the first initial chord down, that we would double it, the second part was very close harmonies.
Yes.
And I was really struggling to keep my part, because I wasn't used to singing that close to myself, especially.
There's a lot of half steps in there.
And so I remember saying to Donald, can we do it this way? Turn off the other part. Just teach me this part. Let me sing it. And so, because I'm not sure I can.
Would he play it on the piano, and you would just he'd say, "Oh, I want you to do these notes"?
Yeah, probably play it on the piano, or in any way, he taught me the singular part, then the next part, and it would turn off the part I just did.
Okay.
So I didn't have to hear that and sing against it. And it was in that way that I was able to kind of do the whole chord and the background part, and then double it. I would do it each line separately, and then double it, the next one. And I didn't really hear the part until we finished them all, and then we played it back all together. And hadn't been for multi-track recording, I don't think, well, I wouldn't have done it in the first place. But the ability to not hear that part, meant all the difference in the world, because it was not something I was used to. Like people in Manhattan Transfer, really good jazz singers can do that stuff.
Yeah.
But I wasn't one of those guys.
Now, when he'd ask you to come in to sing on something like that, would you sing on a number of songs, or would it be one track, or how would they do that?
There might be a couple songs I would do in a day, usually never more than two, because we would spend some time with each song. And then I would come back and do another one or two,
When you would sing harmony vocals, would they typically double parts? Was that a really common thing at the time?
Oh, yeah, most definitely, yeah. He always knew what he wanted, for the backgrounds, I think he was pretty much that way with everything, He kind of, even if it was somebody else was playing piano, he would, he knew how the chord should be voiced and how the rhythm of the part should be, and
And how about doubling with the doobies, for exple?
We'd always double track them pretty much.
Okay.
And sometimes I would sing with myself, for a certain sound. But a lot of times we sang as a group, and we'd all kind of just find our parts.